Well, Razorback fans, you all witness greatness. Greatness at the highest level. Gage Wood keeps the Razorbacks season alive, not only with a great performance, but a no-hitter type performance. Let's react to it on today's Locked On Razorbacks podcast.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Nabors. I am also the host of Inside Arkansas Live, which you can catch every weekday starting at noon on Inside Arkansas and InsideArkansas.com. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Tuesday as we are continuing to be here at the College World Series in Omaha. Not dead yet. The Razorbacks take care of business. We're going to talk about that as well as the performance that was from Gage Wood and also get into the next step for the Razorback baseball team and looking forward to their next matchup here in the College World Series. But, I mean, what else can be said? A lot of you have probably heard and talked about this particular game, not only because the Razorbacks win, which, let's be honest, if the Razorbacks would have won this game, everything would have been just fine. You would have been happy. You would have been thrilled. It's extending your College World Series stay. You didn't go 0-2 in barbecue. It would have been a great moment. And honestly, whenever a game happens like this one with Arkansas winning 3-0, a lot of you would probably start bringing up, well, where did the hitting go? What's the problem here? What's the issue? Why did they not get any hits? Who's struggling? Why do these players continue to go up to the plate and completely and whiff? All these things. But that's not what the story is today. The story is today, Gage Wood, starting pitcher for Arkansas, throws 9 innings. You know, baseball has 9 innings. That's a complete game, folks. Not only a complete game, but a no-hitter with 9 strikeouts in the College World Series. I mean, anybody who's a baseball fan who witnessed this and was able to watch this is in total awe of what happened. We were very fortunate enough to see it in person there at Charles Schwab. A lot of you Razorback fans had the ability to watch it in person. But even you Razorback fans that were unable to watch it in person, it was a middle-of-the-day game in the afternoon. You all have jobs. You all have hours that take you to where you have to be there in the afternoons. You stopped what you were doing. You locked in. You were fascinated. You were completely and totally watching this game completely and having all eyes on it because it wasn't just you. The entire sports world was watching it at the possibility that the first time since the 50s, there would be a no-hitter thrown in the College World Series. Gage Wood did that. Gage Wood was that guy. And it is always an incredible thing to see performances at a high level. For instance, when Arkansas, even though they lost to LSU, we talked about it, the performance that Gabe Gackle gave was incredible. I mean, he had 10 strikeouts in that game. Granted, Arkansas didn't win, but he pitched about as well as he had all season long. And being on the grand stage of everything, to be able to have that is just, awesome. You want it to go with a win, but it's still awesome. But in this particular case, Gage Wood decided to say, hold my beer. Let me nearly double you up on strikeouts, because that's what happened. 10 strikeouts is incredible. Double-digit strikeouts is incredible in any game. But to get 19 strikeouts in the College World Series, I don't care if it's against Murray State. I don't care if there's a controversial call or the hit by pitch, whatever it is. Does not matter. Do not care. Nobody does this. There's a reason why it hasn't been done since the 50s. People who try to bring up and try to compare, I've seen Tennessee fans in the replies of the Arkansas Razorback baseball account saying, well, yeah, but this was better when a guy hit for the cycle. This has not happened since the 50s. I got everybody talking about this, folks. You see Patrick Mahomes tweeting about it. You see Pat McAfee talking about it. It's leading stories on SportsCenter. It's on Pardon the Interruption. You got John Calipari referencing it. I mean, you have so many different people in the national landscape talking about this moment, this game. I guarantee you the vast majority of the other people bringing it up, they don't even know who Gage Wood is. They've never even heard of the name Gage Wood before. But this is what this sport does, and this is what that type of performance does, is it brings everybody's eyeballs to the big product, the product that is college baseball, but the product that is Arkansas. And I am extremely happy for Gage Wood. He's an Arkansas kid. And we could sit here and talk about how it means more if it's an Arkansan and an Arkansas kid. Yeah, it does. It always will. We can sit there and run from it, but it's a true fact. There's just something special about a kid who grew up in Arkansas, grew up a Razorback fan, being able to have high-level performances and be on a team at the Arkansas Razorback athletic department that brings you to that next level. There's something special about it. And so to be able to see this from Gage, who I'm not even going to say he had a bad game against Tennessee in the Supers because he didn't, but that was the last time we got the chance to see him. He was really frustrated when he got pulled out of the game. He was a guy that, luckily for Arkansas on their offense, they were taking care of business in that game against Tennessee, but he was a little frustrated. And you know that in the College World Series, he was not somebody that was going to hope and pray that he'd have to go in there and be in his first appearance in the College World Series facing elimination. Nobody wanted that. He didn't want that, but that's the circumstances that it was called for. And he showed out. Everybody was waiting with bated breath. And I'm going to tell you this, because I know we'll talk about the maybe comparable performances in Razorback athletics history of where this could be. And trust me, there's not many of them. But when we were sitting there watching it, and I hate to be this guy, but I am not afraid to admit it now. When I was sitting there watching it and seeing the pitch count continue to increase, he ended up throwing 119 pitches. Continue to increase. I kept waiting for, all right, so when's the breakup going to happen? When's it going to happen? Because I believe in the SEC tournament, that was probably one of the closest things when Leo Lockhart was out there throwing something similar. He was this close. They were in the final inning before he threw the no-hitter, and then ended up getting broken up at the very end. You're like, that sucks. We were so close. I kept waiting for that moment with Gage Wood because I'm like, there's no way this guy in the College World Series, how hot it is, everybody watching, that he's going to be able to get through all of this. And there's also maybe a chance that Dave Van Horn, Matt Hobbs say, man, this is great, but we got to be smart here. We got to look ahead. We got to think about our pitching rotations and our matchups. Like there's all those things that entered into my mind. And then every single time, you kept seeing Gage Wood go back out to the mound. You kept seeing Gage Wood throw absolute gas. The final stretch that he had in the strikeouts and the pitches in the ninth inning, when he was into 115 pitches, he was throwing 96, 97 miles an hour. Just electric stuff. Stuff you don't see very often. There's been a lot of great pitchers that have come through college baseball, and there's been a lot of great performances by them. But to have the complete game in this moment, you really can't express how truly incredible it was. Because to me, we can sit here and talk about the offense, which the offense was not great. That once again had some really frustrating moments where you score 3 runs on 10 hits. You end up leaving a total of 9 players on base. There were at least 2 instances where you had runners at second and third with 1 out or less and were unable to score. Like frustrating things, no doubt. Things that need to be addressed moving forward, no doubt. If Arkansas is wanting to win in the College World Series and keep their hopes alive, they can't do that again. They can't have that type of offensive performance again. We know that. You know that. But that's not the story. That's not what this is about. People, great players, great people that come out on top like this have to step up in these moments. And that's what Gage Wood did. I don't know if we'll ever see something like that again. Because to be honest, folks, I remember when Hagen Smith threw 17 strikeouts down in Arlington against Oregon State just a year and a half ago. And I thought, there's no way I'm going to see something like that happen again. Well, here we are. It was, again, you can't just be stressed enough. It was awesome. And I'm really happy for Gage. I'm happy for Arkansas, and I'm happy that we're still here, still having a chance to be able to see what this team can do. And also, I think the most obvious thing about this is with Arkansas and what they got going on for the rest of the time that they're up here in Omaha is about who is available to pitch. Because I don't know if y'all knew this, but it usually is extremely helpful to have a lot of options at pitcher, especially when in your previous game you only had one guy pitch. That's usually a pretty good thing. So Arkansas is going to have to get ready for it. You know, the job's not finished, as Gage Wood said. Seeing the moment of him giving his final strikeout, or at least the ball at the end of the game, to his dad, said happy late Father's Day, was awesome. Seeing the jubilation around his team and everybody, him doing the Arkansas thing as he threw the final strikeout, all of that is just something you're going to remember for the rest of your life and remember where you were when all of that happened. So it's great to see. It's great to have that. And the job's not finished. You still got work to do. You still got to go out there. You got to take care of business. You got to win 3 more games in 3 more days. Can you do it? It's tough. It's going to be tough. But I tell you what, it's about the pitching, and your pitching situation is as good as you could ask right now. Just stellar performance. Stellar performance. Shout out to him. Shout out to Arkansas. Let's keep it going. Let's see how this all works out, and let's stay in Omaha for a little bit longer, shall we? Let's shall. So I'm going to talk about some of the performances I remember as a Razorback fan in all sports and see how they compare, how this one compares to some of those performances here in just a second on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. So stay with us. All right, Razorback fans, I am here to tell you about our friends over at Game Time. There's nothing like the College World Series, right? Especially when you're seeing performances like that in the College World Series. Maybe a lot of you Razorback fans out there got extremely motivated after a performance like that to say, you know what? I'm coming to the game tonight. I'm going to see the Hogs be able to try to advance their way into that next day in the College World Series. Well, you're going to need a ticket. Omaha's great, but they don't give out free tickets, as cool as that may be. But luckily for you, the Game Time app is going to be able to help you out because they have killer last-minute deals, panoramic seat views, as well as no surprise fees, and making that Game Time a total game changer. The fact that you can see the exact view from your seat before you purchase it. The fact that it's a very simple app that doesn't have a bunch of pop-ups and a bunch of crazy things to try to navigate through. It sets you up nicely. And also, with the Game Time guarantee, you know you're getting the best deal. And if you find a better price in the same row and section, they'll credit you with 110% of the difference. It's that simple. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, so moving on into the next segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. This is a question I think a lot of people have to ask, and it's fair, of where does this rank? You know, of all the performances that we've seen in Razorback athletics, when it comes to the moment, when it comes to the games, the situation of the season, the type of performance, where does it all rank with Gage Wood throwing a no-hitter in the College World Series? Well, I'm going to be honest. In this, if you're trying to get with the magnitude of being in the College World Series, I would be hard-pressed to find another game that comes close to this, at least to this level. And obviously, when Arkansas won the national championship in basketball, great performances there. Had a great Scotty Thurman performance. Even Corliss was really great in that game, too. The shot, as we all know, from Scotty Thurman to end up winning it, that was awesome. A lot of people know the one that I always reference in College World Series with baseball. You have Brett Eibner, going for a 2-run shot. Like, great moments, but maybe not that level of a game. We're talking about record-breaking stuff that no one has ever really seen before, and doing it against high-level competition. One of the first things that popped up into my mind, at least, was when Darren McFadden, the greatest Razorback football player of all time, ended up going for 321 rushing yards against South Carolina. Now, it wasn't in a playoff. It wasn't in a national championship. It wasn't against the number 1 team in the country or anything like that. That was just a record-setting type of performance against a high-level team that everyone remembers where you were when all of that happened. To me, that might be the only comparison that you could make. Again, the Hagen-Smith deal was great and 17 strikeouts, especially given the type of team that you played in Oregon State, where they had all-American caliber players. They had an offensive threat that was about as good as anybody, and he was striking them out swinging, too, not just getting some calls or anything like that. I mean, he was getting it done and getting them to swing at it, and they still had no answer for him. So for something like that, he might be able to utilize that and maybe talk about that as a possibility. But even then, it's not the College World Series. It's not on ESPN. It's not getting the social media draw, because what helps something like this too, folks, in this type of performance, let's be honest, there's not a whole lot of sports going on right now. How many sports on a Monday in the middle of the afternoon is having something like this big happen? Nothing. So you're going to get a lot more focus and a lot more attention paid to it, which is great. It's great for the game. It's great for Gage Wood. It's great for Razorback baseball. It's great for Dave Van Horn. But that's another element that you got to throw into it. So maybe I'm living in the moment. Maybe I'm looking at it a little too crazy. Maybe I'm looking at it a little bit too ridiculous. And that's a very good possibility because, as all of you know, I can be a little bit overexcited and dramatic about certain things like this. But at the end of the day, I still do not believe that there is a true comparison of what this type of performance was on this level. I truly don't. And what will be the coolest thing about all of this, folks, the greatest thing about all of this, is if it actually leads to something. It's awesome to do it in the College World Series, and it's awesome to extend this in the College World Series. But nobody's going to be remembering it as fondly if you end up losing tonight and you go home. You go 1-2. Sure, you won one game. It's better than going 0-2. But nobody's going to remember as fondly about that game if something like that happens. It's going to be kind of ho-hum or, yeah, we had that great game, but geez, we didn't do squat the rest of the time. I really hope the Razorbacks use this as some sort of spark. Offensively, defensively, pitching, everything. I really hope that this uses it as some sort of way to get back on track. Because there's no doubt, it's no secret, the offense has struggled. The offense has not looked so grand here in Omaha, for sure. But they still have games to play. They still have opportunities. Maybe something like this can get them fired up. Maybe something like this can really get them going. Because as much as I'd like to say and expect it, to think that this is just going to happen once again where tonight Arkansas could throw another no-hitter and they'll just beat whoever. That's not what's a realistic option. Your offense has to do it too. You can't win if you can't score. Arkansas's got to do that. But I'm really hope that this wasn't all for naught. That this cool moment that we're living in and that we're flying high about and that we're so happy for Arkansas and Gage Wood and Dave Van Horn and all of that, that all of these things that we're doing and that we're feeling is not for just, well, it was a great moment in time at a great stage, but none of it mattered because nobody cared 2 seconds later because we lost, we got eliminated, we went home because we couldn't score runs, and that's that. But at least we had a great performance from one guy in the College World Series. Don't let it be for that. Don't let it go completely and totally undervalued, underappreciated in its time because you were unable to do something else with it. Ride it, have it, embrace it, do something with it because you haven't really brought it when it comes to the bats in the College World Series. But as great as this was, just imagine that you'll be able to look back on the 2025 College World Series up here in Omaha, where you lost game 1 against LSU in a frustrating fashion. And you'll be able to look back and say, man, that was the best of all years because we went on to win the College World Series. And it all started with Gage Wood throwing a no-hitter with 19 strikeouts in the College World Series. Luckily, that moment happened because it turned us all around, and suddenly we were all about the Hogs going all the way. Don't let it be for naught. Don't let it go wasted. Let this particular performance by Gage Wood end up having something more special attached to it. I would love to see Gage Wood pitch again. And if Arkansas does what they're supposed to do here in the next few days, we will see a follow-up performance by old Gage this weekend. And man, oh man, wouldn't it be cool if he just followed it up with another no-hitter performance? It'd be pretty cool, I think, if Arkansas was able to get that done. But they got games in front of them. They got to take care of business, and we'll talk about that next. So stay with us here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast.